All right, Texans fall 16-9 to the Denver Broncos, a game that Denver was trying to give them. Quite honestly, this is one of the ugliest football games that I've seen in a long time. It makes me question the football gods because there's no way in hell that Nathaniel Hackett deserved to win a game with the way he coached. He makes David Culley look like Vince Lombardi, quite honestly. But this game, you get every break that you possibly could ask for. The week after, Darius Leonard's out. Patrick Surtain leaves the game. Jerry Jeudy leaves the game. Simmons was put on IR before, and you can't take advantage. And there's a hell of a lot to talk about. It is the post-game show. Appreciate everyone for hopping on. I'm going to bring on a special guest. Last week I had Meltzer. This time I got my buddy Cody Stutes in the mix, and we'll get Meltzer in here probably as well. But there's a lot to cuss and discuss. Really, just I don't even really know what to say about this. I don't think in Denver they're feeling really good about themselves. In the Texans, I mean, you've got to feel just awful right now. And it leads me to wonder, like, what if you can't win this game, what games can this team possibly win, Stutes?
That's the tough part about this is if you're not going to take the opportunity when Denver's basically handing you a football game, you're not going to rise to that occasion. How can you expect to overcome good performances from opposing teams? How can you expect to overcome games where you have guys play up to their potential and play really well? That's the scary part about what this Texans team could turn into over the course of the season. You've had two opponents try to hand you a football game, and you can't get a victory in either one of those scenarios, and they've played really poorly in those matchups your opponents have. So what happens when your opponent plays average or your opponent plays good? It can get real ugly.
Let's bring in Melts too. Melts, just talking to Stutes. If you can't win this game, I don't know what games you can win. And I'm not trying to be too harsh, but what I mean, what are they saying? This is my favorite thing that Mike Meltzer says, and he's sitting there giggling about it because stuff like this just amuses him, and he's an evil son of a gun. But what are they saying in Denver right now? Are they happy in Denver right now? There's no chance that they're happy right now. This is the worst two-game start that I've ever seen from a head coach. This was the performance that Nathaniel Hackett put on today might have even been worse than Monday night. And Monday night was one of the goofiest performances I've ever seen. What are they saying in Denver right now?
I think they're saying, thank God we got to win. And we may have absolutely hired the wrong head coach, because if this continues like this, then they are dead to rights in that division. That's my take on Denver. Like, I'll be fair about Denver. I think from a talent standpoint, they're missing Justin Simmons. Obviously, Surtain was out for the second half. Tim Patrick tore his ACL. Jeudy got hurt. So they are missing a bunch of guys who I think are really good players. But I don't know what the hell their plan is offensively. Like, I love that option play with Andrew Beck. It's like, how did the coaches figure, hey, this is a good idea? And then how do the players go along with this, like, hey, how is this possibly a wise idea when you have the talent they have at running back and at quarterback, to where any third down, it would make sense to give the football to essentially your backup tight end in a critical situation.
Andrew Beck was at the University of Texas, and I was tired of watching him, like, even at tight end. Good for him for making it in the NFL, but you run that option play, and we could go through the whole list of things that Hackett did that were just ridiculous. Well, they abandoned the run early for whatever reason. The weirdest was when they don't seem shy about using timeouts, but they take a delay a game when they're lining up for a field goal late, and then they decide to punt, and the field goal is way closer than the one that they decided to go for last week. Like, that's what I said this week. And this is the thing about Nathaniel Hackett, and this is the problem that Denver's going to have, is anyone can make a dumbass decision. Some of the smartest people in the world have made dumbass decisions. Now, dumbass decisions like he made the other day, those are few and far between. But anyone can make a dumbass decision. But what separates a dumbass from someone that makes a dumbass decision is sometimes once you make that decision, you start overthinking it. And he's thinking, am I going to go for it on fourth down? Oh, the clock's going down. Am I going to kick a field goal? And you could see a lot of that to the point where the crowd is freaking mocking you and doing a WWE Royal Rumble style countdown for the dang game clock to let you know what's going on.
Yeah, I love that. I was just about to say the same thing. Like, to me, it is wild that on Monday night, he decides, okay, it's better to have a 64-yard field goal try, of which 2 kicks in NFL history have been made from that distance. And then you decide today that when you're at the Houston 36-yard line at home in September, when it's warm, hey, I'm going to take a delay of game and punt it. Like, there's no logical consistency between those decisions. So I don't know what they're doing at practice. I don't know what they're doing with their game management, but it has been a complete debacle 2 weeks in. Totally.
And all that, and the Texans lost to that guy. And the Texans lost to that guy trying to hand you a football game.
They did cover, though. They were 10-point dogs in this game.
I don't give a crap about covering, Mike. When you look like this, I don't give a crap about covering. When you look this bad and some of the key players that you were counting on in 2022 look this bad, I don't give a crap what Vegas says about you. You should have 2 wins right now. You have 0 wins right now.
Well, they should have won last week. I mean, I feel sort of out of touch when it comes to why people are so upset. Like, who are you so disappointed by?
What do you mean? Who am I so disappointed by?
What do you mean? Who are you so disappointed by?
I'm disappointed by Pep Hamilton. I'm disappointed by Titus Howard. I'm disappointed by Laramie Tunsil. I'm disappointed by Nico Collins. I'm disappointed by Davis Mills. Shut up, Mike. I'm not done listening to people I'm disappointed with. I'm disappointed with the whole damn team. They should have 2 wins.
They should listen. I think they should have 1 win. Clearly, I never thought at any point today they were definitely going to win the game. But I feel like I'm in such my mindset this year is so zen that I'm like, let's just see what happens. You give Mills the season that, like, to me, if they I just don't think it's a huge deal if they lose this game. Like, I will say it is a troubling sign when you think about Davis Mills and what he could be, that in the last 2 possessions, it was completely impotent in every single way. Whereas you look around the league and you go from Tua to Joe Flacco to what Kyler's doing right now, and they're like, I think those plays, it's hard to win in those situations, but those, you guys know this, those situations are tailor-made to at least move the ball down the field a little bit because the defense is going to be playing more conservatively. They didn't do that to any extent. I mean, they're throwing horizontal passes 2 seconds after the ball is snapped. They were particularly, minus the Nico Collins play, they did nothing on like the last 8 plays of the game against a Denver defense that didn't have by far their best cornerback and possibly their best football player.
Best player, I would say, and then best receiver. Let's just go through the actual game itself because we'll have plenty of time to get our stuff. But the bottom line is this: if you can't win this game, I don't know how many games you can win. I don't know how many games you can win. One of the main storylines coming into this game was more Pierce, less Rex. We saw that at an extreme level. Like, I have no problem with Dameon Pierce getting more carries. I'm not going to complain about that, but 15 carries for Dameon Pierce and Rex Burkhead gets 0. And I'm not saying this to say, well, Rex Burkhead should have gotten more carries. I'm saying, so how the hell did that happen in the first place? Like, if it was so stupid that you just completely abandoned it, how does that even happen in the first place? I think this makes last week look even worse. The fact that you have a running back who you trusted to touch the ball 19 times last week, and he's where he belongs, but now it goes all the way down to 0. So what the hell were you thinking? Like, what discussion was had to where it goes from that extreme to the next? What happened?
It's hard to not watch Dameon Pierce today and think that they should have won the football game last week by giving him more carries. That was the main thing that jumped off the page to me watching Pierce today is, wow, if this guy had gotten more carries last week, they'd have a victory on their hands. And to your point, Landry, maybe this is Lovie Smith walking into the offensive meeting room and saying, give 31 the ball more. Maybe this is Pep Hamilton getting out of his head. I mean, we've all been there before. You've all been there in life where you start making a mistake. And while you're making that mistake, you just continue to make that mistake more. You can't pull yourself out until you have a real easy time to sit back and look at it. Maybe that was what Pep Hamilton was last week. And then this week, he's like, oh, okay, yeah, this guy's clearly the best football player when we're going to run the football. Let's go ahead and give him the football.
Yeah, I'm going to be not as hard on it. It doesn't really make sense from a week-to-week standpoint, but I think a lot of times we're complaining about, hey, why is this obvious thing that is so wrong not being fixed?
Yeah,
And
at least it's fixed. I'll say that. Like I'm not having to watch David Johnson get 20 touches every week. At least it's fixed. I'm just saying it never should have came to that. It never should have came to that. And I want to know whose idea this was. Was this Pep? Was this Caserio? Whose idea was this? And quite honestly, the other thing about this, and seriously, this is the other problem I have. And this is why when the three of us talked about the draft, I said I want multiple running backs. I said I want to bring in running backs off of the street. Because if your backup running back can't get a single touch, he sucks. Like, you should never be to a point, no matter what, where your backup running back can't carry the ball one time. That's bad. Like, that's bad. I understand we want less Burkhead, but Dameon Pierce, yes, he needs to be. You got to have someone that can at least ease the load. Your backup running back's not even worthy of touching the rock. I haven't gone through every box score yet, but I bet you there's not another backup running back who didn't touch the ball at all or carry the ball at least one time. That's a problem. That's a serious problem.
I agree. I don't want to go back to like my last week thing. Well, I don't know. I did have if you look at some of the third downs, because Rex was in on a bunch of those, right? And they targeted him a couple times early in the game where I just had this thought, like, I don't think Rex Burkhead in his life, maybe post high school, has ever converted this particular play into a first down, like 3rd and 10, 3rd and 15. And it does feel like even in those situations, even if Pierce is getting all the actual carries on the early downs, that even Rex in that kind of role is misplaced, and you'd be better off with a Dari Agunbowale or somebody like that.
He had a nice special teams tackle, but I mean, you got to get a backup running back who's worthy of touching the ball once. This isn't a more Burkhead thing. This is your backup running back shouldn't warrant not touching the ball.
Well, it's just a factor of they don't have a very good offense. They don't have a very good offense overall. They don't have a lot of talent on it. And Dameon Pierce is by far the most talented running back, and they did a bad job backfilling behind him once they figured out exactly that he was the number one back.
I agree. I agree.
And they gotta run the ball more. I know a lot of this is the game script and how things
what?
Well, they have to run the ball. Like, look, they had 38 pass attempts and 18 runs. Now, they need to run more plays, period, because I don't think that's going to get it done. But like 18 rushes in a game, and 2 of those are Davis Mills carries, basically. For this team, whatever the winning formula is, they need to run the ball more, right?
Especially when the game's close. This defense just gets worn out. My goodness, how short can these offensive possessions be so often? They've got to be able to run the football more. And it's not like they found themselves in a ton of situations where they couldn't run the football. And they opted to pass, sometimes with success, sometimes it was met with failure. But this is not a good overall offense through two games, despite playing 2 defenses that A, vastly underachieved, and B, were missing their best players.
I think it's going to be a long haul for this offense. I think you
guys think?
I think
revolutionary.
Thanks, Mike.
Mentally prepared for this to be a grueling slog every single week.
I mean, even when they do right, they don't do right. Like Brandon Cooks dropped a touchdown.
Yes.
And even when they do right, they can't do right. And the problem with the Texans, with where they're at right now, we'll get to the comments. Subscribe to the YouTube, Landry Locker. We're getting this going. We appreciate you. Trust me, we will. We'll get into all y'all stuff. I promise. But even when they do right, they can't do right. Like Davis Mills has a nice run inside the 10. Laramie Tunsil tugs on a jersey. It comes back. Davis Mills has it going. Titus Howard, what did he not know the snap count? He gets beat by Randy Gregory, and then he pushes Randy Gregory into. Really, Denver should have recovered that, and that should have been church. Brandon Cooks drops the touchdown. Like they can't get out of their own way. And I actually think, and I know that it's not the defense has played good enough to win two ball games. Like the defense it's done everything you can expect. Like Derek Stingley, Cortland Sutton got the best of him today. It's going to happen. Like rookie corners, especially guys who haven't played 2 years, it's going to happen. I like the physicality. I didn't think that was pass interference. the second one that got called on him. But whatever. But the defense has done their part. The special teams has done their part. It's the offense, and it's not a Pep Hamilton thing. I can't point to Pep Hamilton did this. I can go back last week and I can talk about third down. Although the other thing, and I want to touch on this real quick. They didn't miss Justin Britt at all. I think they might have won last week if Justin Britt had set out last week. I think we might be talking about a 1-1 team instead of a 0-1-1. I think we would be talking about a 1-1 squad.
There was a moment or two where Quessenberry, I guess maybe a blitz here or there, but overall, I thought he was so much better than Britt.
Yeah, it happens, but they just don't know. They just can't take advantage of anything. And I don't know what I can't point to anything that Pep Hamilton should be doing. Like run the ball more, sure, but the person that the wide receivers after Brandon Cooks, disaster. Chris Moore might be their second best receiver.
Yeah, well, that's
crazy.
And that's what I was just going to say. One of the things I like to look at when I look at box scores after watching a game is what's your ratio between the targets and the actual completions? Because that shows you how efficient you are. So I look at Nico, 9 targets, 4 catches. Cooks, 10 targets, 4 catches. So we're talking a combined 19 targets where you only complete 8 of those. Highly inefficient. And the thing about Mills that I noticed, and you saw this especially late in the game, there are just too many plays where he's throwing the ball to towards the sideline where he gives his receiver absolutely no chance to make a play. And I don't know if that's his own inaccuracy or if that's something that he's coached to where if he's a little hesitant, then just lean towards throwing the football away and living to play another down. But do you guys notice that they're like a bunch of overthrows that give nobody a chance whatsoever?
Well, the way the NFL operates today in speed, so passer friendly, you should be getting the ball in the vicinity of your receivers down the field as much as possible. One, because receivers are better than they have ever been, really, from a totality standpoint. You have more depth and you have better receivers. I mean, guys like Chris Moore would barely get on the field 30 years ago. Now you can put them on the field. So you should get the ball in the vicinity more. Plus, you saw it with Denver today. Throw it in the vicinity. Sometimes your guy just makes a play, or sometimes there's a penalty. You could steal some yards that way. Yeah. There's too many times where the guy has the pass that Mills throws has a 0% chance of turning into yards for the Texans. And he can't have zero-sum passes when this team's going to live in the margins for the duration of the year.
I agree. I agree with that entirely. I mean, I'm
trying to get people in the mix.
What I would say is there are too many non-competitive third down throws where there's no chance for the receiver to catch the ball whatsoever. And I think it's partially on Mills. And as you know, Landry, you and I have talked about this. Beyond Brandon Cooks, I just have a severe question about just how good these players are. Like Nico Collins, would he start on any other team in the NFL, or how many would he start on? I know they invested. They invested a lot of picks in him. Chris
Come
Moore,
on, Mike. Don't give me that. They invested a lot of picks.
But I'm saying
this is like when Cap gets mad about $100,000 in salary cap space.
Nico Collins he's just not very good.
Paid in picks to get Nico Collins. He has to.
He's what, Stitz?
He's just not very good. What? He's just not very good. There's a lot of second-year wide receivers that are third or fourth-round picks that turn into really good players almost right away. There's a lot of – he's just not very good. If there was something there, he would have showcased it to a larger degree by now. He's just not very good. Now, maybe he turns into something throughout the duration of this season. I don't know, but he's just not very good right now. And it doesn't help that oftentimes he doesn't get a chance to showcase the skills that he does have because the quarterback's overthrowing him by 10 feet.
Agreed. But if that's the case, there's no horse riding in from over yonder that's going to save the receiving corps. This is what it's going to be. They're not getting anyone back. They're not trading for anybody. They're going to throw out these guys every single week. Well,
How about Tyler Johnson? Can he ride in on a horse?
Actually, if this keeps going, we need to see. Was he inactive today? I don't think I even looked at it. Was he inactive?
Yes.
Okay. Him and Philip Dorsett were both inactive.
Yeah, okay, Dorsett seems like someone that could get a lot of run here.
Okay, so that right there needs to be changed, I think, immediately. Based on what's happened through 2 weeks, they need to have Tyler Johnson on the field next week against Chicago.
Let's get some questions in here. Y'all down with some questions? We got a lot of them. We got a lot to get into. Cody Stutes in the building. Mike Meltzer in the building. Meltzer sipping that damn coffee. Hey, you can do it right now, huh?
It's decaf though. It's decaf.
What's the point?
I like sipping it. I like the culture of it. You know, nice cup of coffee after a game.
I think it's time. These are comments. I think it's time to look forward to Bryce Young or one of these college prospects. This is going to come after every game. This is pitiful in every sense of the world. Davis Mills is not the answer. I'm cool with Kyle Allen instead.
Why? Like I feel I'm in a weird place because there's a part of like, and I'm not saying that this guy is part of it, but there is a part of Texans Twitter that annoys me, and so I feel like I'm less optimistic. I'm pretty negative overall. But like, what's the point of playing Kyle Allen in any of these games? This is very simple. Davis Mills showed promise last year. He's a third-round pick. He gets 17 games. There's no urgency here. Nobody's career is being wasted. Your head coach is like 63 years of age. There are no expectations on this team. And I'd like to see what Davis Mills
you want to win. You want to win,
sure.
Right?
I'd like to win. I'm rooting for them to win. But if and when they lose, I am far from heartbroken based on the long-term trajectory of the franchise.
My thing with Mills is he's the guy for 17 games, unless he gets hurt. That's what the organization wanted. That's what the organization needs to do. They need to stick to that plan. And this guy has dug himself through 2 games such a large hole that it feels unlikely that he would be able to pull himself out. If by chance he does pull himself out, then he will likely showcase a lot of the skills necessary to become a franchise quarterback. But the hole is so deep now. He's so deep when you factor in the failures that he's had through 2 weeks. He's a third-round pick, and the quarterback talent that is seemingly coming out next year. Then you've got 15 games to climb out of this hole. And if you don't, then you're not the quarterback next year. And it's important to still operate like a real franchise. It's still important to operate like you give a crap and you want to win football games, because you've got, on any given play, 8 to 9 guys that are going to be on this team next year that you have to figure out if they're any good too. You have to figure out if Dameon Pierce is any good. You have to find out if Nico Collins is indeed a bust as a third-round pick. Like, you have to find out about some of these players, and you have to go about that acting like a professional franchise trying to win football games, and Mills gives them the best chance to win football games and find out about guys right now.
If you had to, like right now, if you had to list, if I had to list the draft needs right now, let's say the draft was tomorrow, and let's say the Texans have the number 5 and 15 pick. Where are we starting?
Quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, what position would you say they don't need, Landry?
The tough part is the safety. But you wouldn't draft that guy that high anyway. You're not the Jets. So would you
turn Adams into 2?
By the way, hell of a win by them today. I got old takes exposed like a mother trucker there. I'm happy for it though.
So here's something that we'll inevitably have to think about over the course of this season, as long as Davis Mills is not the answer. Because for Mills, it's always been like a little meter. And you turn it to the left side, he's not the guy. You turn it to the right side, he is the guy. Well, it's left side right now. He's not the guy. Free agency happens before the draft. Is there any sort of quarterback movement? Is there any sort of free agent that you would prioritize as the Texans that would keep you from having quarterback as your top draft need?
Let's see.
Jimmy Garoppolo has to be a free agent at the end of the year, unless he agrees to a contract extension with the 49ers.
He's starting a Super Bowl run right now.
He cannot be franchise tagged. So, I mean, I don't know. You're going to have 2 picks. Are the Ravens going to not pay Lamar Jackson? Like, I mean, that's the thing. It's like there's so many different things that you have to go through before you're sitting there with, say, the 5th overall pick, and you feel like you have to have a quarterback. Like, there's so many.
Listen, I don't think Lamar's ever getting out of Baltimore, but if they ever put the non-exclusive tag on Lamar Jackson, I would immediately offer 2 first-round picks for him and a huge contract without even a thought. Right?
2.
Can we agree on that?
Now 4, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, because I know 2 is the minimum, but yes, I mean that's unlikely. But I think that's unrealistic. I think not to like derail the conversation. I think a better question, because like you're probably not depending on draft position. I think it would be ill-advised for the Texans to change their quarterback strategy based on quarterback free agency unless you can land a star like Lamar Jackson. So to me, I think looking at it now, my question would be like, okay, what positions might you target in order to not be desperate at those spots for the draft? But it also feels early to ask that.
I mean, you're going to need, if we're just talking about like premium picks, I can't believe we're effing here. This sucks.
It's week 2 and we're talking about the draft. Like,
yeah, but
this is brutal.
I'm more so just looking at the roster as a whole and what the weaknesses are. I wasn't trying to get into like specific like Lamar Jackson talk, but I mean that's covering a crappy football team will do that for you. I think you might need a tackle. I think you might need a tackle.
Yeah, you might.
How many? You need 2?
Oh man, I mean, Telson's not the long-term guy. You need a receiver more than anything. You need someone opposite Brandon Cooks. That's it. Like you need like Smith and Jigba. If you can get him at 5, I can't believe we're at this point. They need linebackers. They need D-line. I mean, yeah. Well, the secondary is the only thing that I feel good about right now.
But okay, I guess what you're really kind of asking is, who has disappointed so much through 2 weeks that you now feel like they're playing for their job?
That's
Mills.
Okay, so all right.
But he already was.
Right. Sure. So quarterback, second wide receiver.
Yes.
Left tackle, right tackle.
He hadn't disappointed. I just don't think he's a long-term guy.
Okay. Well, then for sure Titus.
So, yes, for sure Titus.
A tackle.
Laramie. Bradley Chubb didn't have a tackle today. Like, he wasn't even called by name basically the whole game. I just want to point that out.
Yeah. I'm more so talking long term. I thought Laramie was fine. I'm more so just talking long term.
Yeah, I think this team is always, as long as Laramie is here with his uncertainty, I think that they're always in the general market for an offensive tackle. Yes.
So, yeah, linebacker. They need. I mean,
I hope Christian Harris is freaking awesome because
I think he might be.
I mean, Kevin Pierre-Louis said that he
laughing
thought
at Melts.
I don't know.
Are you laughing at the Jalen Johnson comment down there? Keep going, Stoots. We'll get to that. That's something nobody's talking about.
One of these like there's not a lot of reinforcements coming, certainly on the offensive side. Like, can you change things up a little bit by making sure that actually wide receivers that can actually get open and help you maybe are active, like Philip Dorsett, maybe Tyler Johnson, like that can help you a little bit, sure. And then can guys just maybe play a little bit better on offense? Sure. There's actually like a conversation to be had that some of the issues that the defense has shown. And again, I think the defense has played pretty damn well through a couple of games. They just don't have the stamina when the offense is this bad. But there should be some sort of
wear down.
There should be some sort of tiny reinforcement coming. I mean, this organization was excited about Garrett Waldo coming into year 2. He hasn't played yet. This organization was clearly thrilled about Christian Harris. He hasn't played yet. You'll see both of those guys, I would think, in the coming weeks. Harris when he gets back off of short-term IR, and then with Waldo as soon as he's healthy enough to go. Like the defense, they're going to have to. I mean, this feels a lot like some of those David Carr-led Texans teams, where the defense has to play their ass off. You have to run the football really well, and you have to hope that the quarterback makes a play or two and gives you a chance to win. That's where they are.
Did you think David had more around him than Mills? Who do you think was a better quarterback? I mean, I'm just asking because a lot of times the only reason I ask that is go ahead.
I think Mills has more around him right now just because of the sheer investment in the offensive line.
Because that's the thing. Because every time when you say Carr, like people automatically think victim. Didn't have anything around him. I feel like David Carr. I feel like they would at least be 1-1 with David Carr right now. They would at least be 1-1. I think
they'd be 2-0 with average quarterback play.
Okay, yeah. So I don't even think it's David Carr.
Yeah, they'd be 2-0 with average quarterback play.
I think this is a lot more like Brock. I mean, honestly, I think this is like Brock, where you're managing the game, and you're leaving some meat on the bone that can't afford to be left. That's what I think. I think it's a lot more like Brock. I think Davis Mills is playing a lot like Brock Osweiler. Serious.
Yeah, I mean, I just was kind of harkening back to how it feels from a previous Texans team standpoint, where if the defense isn't on, you're going to absolutely lose the football game. And even if the defense is on at different times, you're still going to lose because the offense can't do enough.
Jalen Johnson says, and get the comments coming in. Be sure to subscribe, spread the word. This is fun. Two of my best friends. This is basically what we would be doing if we were just eating or something like that after the game. And Meltzer, you're getting way too much joy out of this. You just get a kick out of this for some reason.
I'm rooting for them to win.
No, you have apathy, and I can see it in your face, and you're just amused by this. You don't get worked up about it anymore.
I'm not that okay. Like, if you're asking me, like, as far as importance of the season, this is not like an Astros, in the postseason.
Mike,
kind of
the point is, though, you could easily be 2-0.
Yes,
it would be a lot easier to just sit here and say that, but they could easily be 2-0.
Yes. I mean, if this was Deshaun Watson quarterbacking this team, I'd be apoplectic because they would have left 2 chances to get easy wins. But because of the situation, yes, I'm not as bothered by it overall. But I am during the games rooting for them to win. Like, I thought, what did you guys think of Lovie's clock management, by the way, at the end of the game?
I liked it. I was fine with it.
They got the rock back. Out for him.
They got the rock back. As far as Lovie, there were a couple of decisions that I thought got hindsighted. We'll get into a Lovie report card, but I had no problem with declining the penalty on 4th and 2 near midfield. I was actually saying it because to me, you give them whatever,
you give them a chance 13. To screw up.
Yeah, and the way they were throwing, like, you just give Russell Wilson a chance to go around. Hackett wasn't even sure of the decision. He had to call a timeout afterwards. Yes. But I had no problem with the declining. I know some Monday morning quarterbacks might. But as far as, like, if there's anything that you want me – I can't point to anything that Lovie did that I thought was bad. I mean, they went forward on 4th and 1. Can you think of anything, Stoots?
I would have gone for it. I would have gone for it on 4th down, deep in Denver territory in the red zone. But I understand kicking at that point because you feel like the defense is playing pretty well, and Denver's shown you that they're having a tough time. But because Denver's been having such a tough time on offense, them starting so deep in their own territory versus the chance that I could have gotten a touchdown, I thought it was a worthwhile decision. Again, I understand getting the points on the board, but I probably this team is not winning shit if they don't score touchdowns. Like, they got to quit kicking the football. Okay. Like settling for 3 is going to doom this team. Like, it's one thing to get like 30 yards out and have to kick a field goal, but getting into the red zone, getting into a goal line situation and having to kick is more often than not going to be doom for the Texans.
Mills is getting killed on the comments. Jalen said that getting rid of Marlon Mack was a mistake. That's definitely something nobody's talking about. I can't disagree. And I do wonder if, like, Marlon Mack looked at this situation and said, I'm going to be on the practice squad so y'all can hand the ball to Rex Burkhead on week 1. Can y'all just release me, please? I want nothing to do with this. But that's what he's saying on Marlon Mack. Although Mack didn't look good, if we're being honest with ourselves.
I thought he looked okay. It's hard to judge in the preseason, but the premise is they should have kept Marlon Mack.
Boy, Mills is getting roasted in the comments.
Well, that I think that's the part, like, relating to, like, me allegedly being giddy over this. I think I was cautiously optimistic on Mills in the offseason, although I think a lot of Texans fans were higher on him than I was. So now I'm in this weird position where I feel like everyone has overreacted 2 games in. That's why I am in this weird position that I'm in 2 weeks into this.
Serious question. Where does your intrigue go if the Texans decide, all right, we're going to start Jeff Driscoll at quarterback next game and see if he can give us a spark?
I may not watch.
How much lower does your confidence level go, honestly, with the way Mills is playing?
It would go lower.
I'm asking you this to try to put in perspective how low your confidence currently is in Davis Mills.
It would make me, independent of the actual chances to win, it would make me feel very depressed about the state of the franchise because it indicates they're prioritizing trying to win against the Bears, whereas
so Driscoll gives them a better chance to win.
I'm not saying he does, but if they made that decision, that's what their calculation would be, right? If they did that. And my thought is, even if they thought that, which I don't believe, which I don't believe it, I would think Kyle Allen gives you a better chance to win. not the Mills, but just over Jeff Driscoll. But that would be, I think, you may as well not play games if you're starting Jeff Driscoll quarterback, like that hypothetical.
I had no problem with Stingley. His performance, it's going to happen, right? Like rookie corners are going to struggle. Did y'all have any issue with Stingley? There was some pretty bad. That one breakdown was bad.
Well, that was 3rd and 16, right?
Yeah, there was the 3rd and 16, first play out of the fourth quarter, where I mean that right there was where you just kind of realized, okay, they are in trouble.
I get that the 3rd and 16, Stingley and whoever it is, Owens, has the miscommunication. Why is that the play call on 3rd and 16? Why would Derek Stingley be in a situation where he's letting the guy hand off to a safety? Why not just have, I don't know.
I don't know that he was supposed to do that.
That's what I'm saying. Why not just have a play called in that situation where Derek Stingley, the number 3 overall pick in the NFL draft, is following the best wide receiver throughout the course of the entire play? Like, why would there ever be a situation where you wouldn't have Derek Stingley covering Courtland Sutton? Like that. Like, I don't understand why you would have, I can't imagine Stingley just all of a sudden thought, oh, whoops, I'm just gonna let this guy go because I know the safety's there. Like, why not just have Stingley man up Sutton and go for it? Like, it's 3rd and 16.
I wonder if that's what he was supposed to do. That was weird.
Well, with the Lovie Smith defense, they typically want to let the quarterback make mistakes. And so I would think that they're going to probably maybe lean zone in that kind of situation, 3rd and pretty long. Is that fair?
I mean, yeah, Russell Wilson would definitely make a mistake against the Lovie Smith defense. Not like, how about you just have the really good player cover
Russell Wilson today?
How about you just have the really good player cover the really good player?
Did you watch Russell today, though?
Not a huge criticism of Stingley, but that matchup was clearly advantage Denver today.
Right. Okay. Then my next question: why single coverage in that situation when that's the only guy they can go to? The rest of the guys are garbage men. Jerry Jeudy's not even in the game.
Yeah, I think that's clear miscommunication. Like Sauce Gardner for the Jets, who was picked 1 pick after Stingley, he had a similar play, red zone, where he gave up a touchdown where it was like a clear miscommunication. I feel like with young guys, I don't know. This is one of those things, like, we don't know when we're watching, and we may never know, because that's not a physical mistake. There's some kind of mental mistake going on either between the safety or the cornerback. Like, somebody's making a mistake on that play, and we don't know who made the mistake there.
Crumpler JC has a question for the group. How toxic will Texans Twitter be when Mills gets outplayed by Trevor Lawrence in 2 weeks and Justin Fields next week?
Should they be toxic? Like, Trevor Lawrence was I love John, but like, Trevor was a generational prospect who I think today had his first really standout game against Indianapolis. And then, Fields, they gave up 2 first-round picks for him when they traded up with the Giants a year and a half ago. He's got more physical talents. Now, I don't know if Fields is going to make it. I think Lawrence is far more likely to, but like, I don't think of Davis Mills as on the level of those 2 guys from a talent standpoint.
Jake says everyone liked this video. Help the channel grow. I agree with that, please.
Agreed.
I don't compare Davis Mills to anybody else. I compare Davis Mills to the guy that was on the field the previous week. And I was more disappointed in this week's Davis Mills than I was last week, and I was disappointed with last week's Davis Mills. Davis Mills can't be compared to all these other quarterbacks in the National Football League. Davis Mills needs to be compared to Davis Mills each and every week. And comparing Davis Mills to each and every week will give you the best assessment of where Davis Mills is and the best assessment of where this team is. Comparing him to Trevor Lawrence, comparing him to Justin Fields, comparing him to just about any quarterback that they're going to be facing on the schedule is a fool's errand. That is a waste of time for you. It's a waste of time for anybody. That's just not the way you should go about it. Was Mills better than he was last week? No, he was worse. Next week. Was he better next week than he was this week? Well, we'll find out. I sure hope he is. It's frickin' Chicago. I would think that you can be a little bit better against Chicago. But then again, Denver's missing their best player in Patrick Surtain, and you're still sailing the ball 10 feet over the wide receivers' heads.
I'm this close to being out on Mills, but I'm this close. Are you already out?
I'm not
Are you already out?
I'm wait and see. We got 15 more games of this. Let's see what happens.
I'm close.
Adversity has hit.
Adversity has hit. Has it really though? I mean, you've had everything go your way. That's the thing to me, is that you've had everything go your way.
Yes.
There's been so many breaks. I don't think I've ever seen a team start out a season this lucky. Like with all the injuries, with all the breaks, like in game, you're facing the dumbest coach in history of the NFL. It looks like Nathaniel Hackett. He's one of the biggest idiots. Like you've gotten all these breaks, and you haven't been able to take advantage of them. I don't even know if this is adversity.
Well, what I'm saying adversity, I mean, like, he has played 2 games that are not up to par. Let's see how he rebounds, because there were a couple of moments last season as a rookie where he had some god-awful games and then was able to respond well. That's my point. But I think he
sucks on the road. He sucks on the road.
Yeah, he has been poor on the road. At least he didn't.
9 of his 10 career interceptions are on the road.
Yes, but you're right as far as like the way the Houston Texans in 2022 are built. What they've gotten in the first 2 games is exactly what they need to win, and they have come up 0-2 in getting that win. As far as turnovers, timely plays, just the overall point total of the other team, and despite all of that, they are still 0-1-1.
I wish he was throwing some interceptable balls, because that would mean he's at least throwing it near his wide receivers. Like I wish he would throw some balls that would be near the defensive backs, because then it'd be near the wide receivers. Like, how can it look so easy on a couple of different times over the middle, and then it looks so hard? That was one of the biggest issues I had with Bill O'Brien basically through his entire tenure, including when Deshaun Watson was here. Everything looked hard. It looked hard for the quarterback to make plays. It looked hard for the wide receivers to get open, and it still looks hard. It still looks hard for the quarterback to make plays.
This looks hard.
Throws. It looks like it is laborious for them to get easy yards and easy plays. I think it's a different hard than the BOB. The BOB looked hard because you were having trouble snapping the effing ball. Have they even gotten a delay of game this year? Like, has the play clock, like, we haven't even had the play clock go down to 5. That's why it looked hard for me. For me, like I feel like Davis Mills is in position to make plays. He's just not making plays. I don't feel like this is like Bill O'Brien type where he's putting you up against it or anything. That's the point I'm getting to, though. The reason why it looks hard is because the QB won't make good throws, and he won't take good opportunities when he's presented with those. That's why it looks hard.
Yeah, but how is that like Bill O'Brien?
I'm talking about the history of Texans football. It always looks so difficult because it was Bill O'Brien and his awful offense previously. Now it's Davis Mills' inability to stand in the pocket and deliver a good football to his teammates. Like, it just always looks hard on offense for this franchise.
I'm with Cody on that. Like, if you look at the best offenses in the NFL, the ones that are designed the best, for instance, if you watch like the Rams when they're clicking under McVay, not only are the players obviously very talented, Stafford, Kupp, all these guys, but everything looks easy. Like, the execution's on point. They get the tight end open. It just looks like the play runs very smoothly. Whereas with the Texans, I think we're still learning a lot about Pep Hamilton, but with O'Brien, it always felt very hard, especially by the end, where it was like, hey, we're not going to make it easy for these guys. We're going to rely on the heroics of DeAndre Hopkins or Deshaun Watson to basically bail you out of situations. And now in this situation, it's probably because of the fault of Davis Mills, at least to some extent, that it doesn't look easier. But yes, it's been a thing since Gary Kubiak was here 10 years ago, that it's been a long time since offense looked anywhere near easy for this team. Where it was like pitch and catch or open players down the field where they kind of scheme them open with what they're doing sort of on the grease board.
On the defensive side, though, I think Lovie's coaching his ass off on defense. Like, is there anything you can point to on defense and say they should be doing this better? That doesn't have to do with personnel. Y'all kind of nitpick the Stingley thing. I think I don't even know what the hell happened there. For all I know, that could have been a Stingley mistake. Is there anything on defense that you look at and say, okay, they could have done this better?
I think the run defense is lacking. I think that they missed too many tackles. Petrie late in the game. Pierre Lewis, I think, missed the tackle. So I think the tackling against Taylor and then the Denver running backs has left something to be desired. But on balance, I can't complain with allowing 16 points on the road to Denver. Russ was 14 for 31 for 219. That's a winning effort by this defense today. Like objectively,
I mean, you had the Kirksey Turner interception. You held them inside the red zone a couple of times. I mean, they outside of the fourth quarter again. I mean, but this time it wasn't like a complete and total meltdown. But I mean, when you come out in the fourth quarter, it's 3rd and 16. I mean, that was a mistake. Even the Grenard sack, that they kind of wet the bed there too. Not that this is like a long-term thing, but Grenard gets a sack. Denver has to use their final timeout. And then instead of it being 2nd and 16, Jerry Hughes, your best player, jumps off sides. He turns it into 2nd and 11, and then they convert on the very next one. It's just a bad team, man. Like it's really just a bad team.
Outside of like what you talked about, just, oh, hey, they don't have enough talent to do some of the things. Overall, I feel like Lovie's done a pretty decent job. I have to go back and look. The pass rush is non-existent, and so that's just the talent aspect of it. You have to wonder if some of these some of these linebackers would be in a better situation if quarterbacks had to make a decision faster, because nobody who plays linebacker in this league, with the exception of like 5 or 6 guys, can cover for 4 or 5 seconds. So we saw it a couple times in the preseason. Again, I have to go back and rewatch this game to see it. I'd be interested to see Lovie just dialing up a blitz.
You have to watch the tape.
Like I don't have the how many times they blitzed in this game right off the top of my head. But I do know that when they're sending 4 guys, they don't have 4 guys that can beat the 5 guys that are blocking them on a regular basis.
No chance in hell.
That's where I feel like Lovie's got to send some of these guys on blitzes and make quarterbacks make quick decisions.
Well, I mean, if we want to go complete hindsight, like, and I don't even think this is hindsight, because I think a lot of people would have been kind of thrilled about this. I know they got their guard in Kenyon Green, but I think Jordan Davis would look pretty solid on this team. I mean, I think you could use a run stopper and a bigger guy on defense.
And just Karlaftis, man, another pass rusher. Like, there's a lot of different options that they could have done with that pick. I mean, Caserio talked about how they could have traded down again to 20. I mean, I think that's kind of what he used as like a range, but you could have had Karlaftis. You could have had a pass rusher. Davis, certainly, I don't know that he didn't play a ton week 1 for the Eagles, but it didn't necessitate that he play a ton. It feels like the Texans have been in a lot of situations where he definitely could have helped.
I'm in very much a wait and see approach on that. I've not seen anything bad with Kenyon Green. He looks like he's a talented player, but yeah, there are going to be a lot of players.
I'm just saying you have no chance to stop the run. Like, there's not God bless Roy Lopez. God bless Hines. God bless Malik Collins. Jerry Hughes is doing his thing. You're not going to stop the run. Like, it's just you're not built. It's not realistic to expect. Like, if Denver would have just committed to the run here, it wouldn't have been close. Quite honestly, if Nathaniel Hackett would have gotten food poisoning and had to be rushed to the hospital and get an IV or something and watch the game in a hospital bed and be okay, they probably win this game by 16 points. Like, any other head coach in NFL history, this game isn't close. Like, Nathaniel Hackett kept this game close with how incompetent he was and how much they just abandoned the run. My point is, they can't stop the run. Like, it's not realistic to even expect them to stop the run. But fortunately for them, this week they faced a coach that, for whatever reason, didn't run the ball as much as he should, but it seemed like he eventually figured it out. Javonte Williams averaged 5 yards a carry, 15 for 75. Ingram averaged 4.7, 10 for 47. They didn't run the ball nearly as much as they should have, especially when they got down there. And I don't see the Texans stopping the run.
Yeah, they're not. They don't have the talent to do that on a consistent basis. Now they'll have a successful stop here or there, and then you just have to hope that the other team doesn't run the football again. It happened early on in the game, actually. Kurt Hinish had a tackle for a loss. It was like 2nd and 13. The Broncos threw twice and then had to punt. Like, you have to get lucky, so to speak, on an early down to keep those other teams from running the football. And even then, you've been so poor late in games because you're tired, because the offense can't stay out there. You get tired, you don't have depth, and you just get run over. It doesn't matter if it's Jonathan. We've seen this for a year a year and 2 games now with Lovie Smith's defense. They had a fantastic half of football against Jonathan Taylor last year in the first Colts game. Colts rushed for 28 yards, and then Taylor finished the game with like 136 rushing yards in the second half. Like Taylor did it to him last week. He was okay. Boom, he's ripping off 7, 8, 9-yard runs. You saw it today with Williams and Gordon. Those guys, okay, it's 4, it's 5, it's 6 here. And then all of a sudden, Melvin Gordon's ripping off 8, 9-yard runs. Williams is ripping off 10-yard runs. Like they run out of steam because they get worn down. They don't have the depth combined with the talent, combined with being out there all the time because the offense can't move the football and keep the rock.
The other problem that they have is that they don't have any depth. It's actually kind of crazy, and I'll knock on wood for people. It's actually kind of crazy how healthy this team's been up to this point. Like it's nuts when you look at their opponents and everything like that. They're one of the most. This is the most healthy I've ever seen the Texans two weeks in. Seriously, like.
That crossed my mind today too, Landry, because I was thinking, you look at Denver playing this game, no Justin Simmons, then Judy gets hurt, then Surtain gets hurt. You already had Tim Patrick out. Like, take the equivalent to the Texans. Imagine if they were playing this game without, like, Brandon Cooks.
Jalen Petrie.
Yeah, Laramie Tunsil. Like, they would be in really, Jerry Hughes, I suppose. They would be in hot water without them. Yes, they have thankfully stayed pretty healthy.
Now, maybe they deserve credit for that. Maybe they just got the most awesome training staff ever, and they're hydrating and everything. But I just feel like that's kind of a luck thing. I don't know, but I mean, I don't want to take away credit if it's due, but that just seems like a real luck thing. That seems like another thing where things are going their way.
I agree with that. I think they've just gotten lucky.
I mean, when you add that fact in, it shows how disappointing this loss is because the Broncos are missing a starting safety. They're missing a starting corner once the game gets going. They're missing their starting wide receiver once the game gets going. They come into this game with a backup guard because they're missing their starting guard. They're missing their third string wide receiver in KJ Hamler. The disappointment folds in on itself when you start peeling back the layers of the opportunity that this team had. And again, I think here's an important aspect to think about for the 2022 season. When you were playing the win-loss game with your schedule that you print out at home and you get the Sharpie out and you start putting W's and L's all over the damn thing, I don't know many people that were putting a W on either one of these games. I don't know that many people were saying the Texans were going to start 1-1 or 2-0. Most people were predicting 0-2, and you're heading to Chicago with a necessary game, a necessary win on your schedule. It's like you had to win that game. That's where you are right now. So you're kind of – that's the tough part.
Yeah, you're kind of better off if you want to look at it, the tie, the 0-1-1, if you want to go glass half full. If you get through 3 weeks 1-1-1, you're happy. If we're trying to be positive about this.
Yeah, I mean, like if you're thinking big picture, if you're thinking like okay, what's going on here? Mills goes to Chicago, plays well. You're 1-1-1 after 3 weeks with a chance to get an up and down Jaguars, or excuse me, you get the Chargers coming home, and then you get the up and down Jaguars in the bye week. Like, if you could go into the bye week with 2 victories, you'd have signed up for that most of the time when you're playing the win-loss-win game. You should have that opportunity. It's not going to be easy. I don't know if the Chargers are going to hand you a game like Denver tried to or the Colts tried to, but the Jaguars certainly could. The Bears certainly could.
Yeah, I think that they might be fortunate to get a game here before the bye week. Obviously, the most winnable game is Chicago. I think that they'll have no shot against the Chargers. They're just way more talented. And then at Jacksonville,
although Herbert's hurt.
Yeah, but he
got a hurt rib. That could linger.
He'll play. He'll be back by October 2nd at the very least. And then you look at Jacksonville 2 weeks in. They lost a winnable game last week.
They're good. Dude, they're good. I don't know. I know I'm a year late. I was a year early. They're good. They're not bad. They're not bad at all.
If you're in Jacksonville, this is where you want the rebuild. This is the position you want to be in 2 weeks in. This is where they want to be.
2 weeks or 2 years?
2 weeks. 2 weeks into this season under Doug Peterson. This is
I thought you were talking about like the rebuild type of thing.
Just as far as this season with the new head coach, this is where they want to be.
Let's go through like some of the big plays of this game real quick, and then we'll get back into like the big scheme of things. The biggest play of the game to me was when Denver tried to run the trick play and then Judy goes to the sideline. Steven Nelson, hell of a pass breakup, and Judy's gone. That reminded me, like the last time that the Texans were on the road and they stole a game, there was kind of a similar play where Desmond King hit A.J. Brown, and A.J. Brown was out for the remainder of the game. That kind of had that type of feel where if you're going to steal a game, something fluky like that happens. But they were never really like I guess they missed Judy, but Sutton was just eating all day. Like Sutton was just big. But this might have been like a welcome to the NFL type of game for Derek Stingley, which everyone's going to have.
Yeah, I mean, I thought that it was noticeable that Denver targeted him early in this game in a way that Indianapolis really did not.
The next play, the Cooks drop touchdown. When we look back on this, that might be one of the biggest ones. Did y'all at all think that was a bad throw? I know they were saying, maybe you want to put it a little bit higher. I saw nothing wrong with that throw or anything. Cooks just flat out dropped the touchdown.
I thought it was not the ideal throw, but it's one of those that you obviously have to catch. And I'm always annoyed at commentary after, red zone series like that where people complain about play calling. I'm like, you're down there, it's tight, it's compressed. You're not a good offense anyway. If the play caller calls one play that should obviously be a touchdown, and that was a touchdown, I'm not going to complain about play calling. That sequence was on the players.
Oh, Mike, that's so dumb. They ran a fade to Cooks in the end zone after that. That's not a good play.
Hang on. I think
they ran a poorly designed. No. There's no hang on. They ran a poorly designed play that had a bunch of traffic to the shortest wide receiver they have on offense.
I don't never throw a fade to Brandon Cooks.
Davis, whatever.
Why is Nico Collins on this team if you're not going to throw in fades in the end zone? If you're dedicated to throwing a fade in the end zone.
Cody, you mean to tell me that on 3rd and goal you would have been happy with a fade to Nico Collins? The issue with
I don't like fades, but if you're going to throw a fade, throw it to the 6'4" guy.
Well, that's what I'm saying. You haven't let me say what I'm going to say, which is that Davis Mills on that
you can't say against play calling in the red zone.
He has to get rid of that football sooner. The way that he threw that football with the touch that he put on it, that's not the way they designed that play. That ball has to be out quicker, and it's got to be out more forceful, whatever the play design was.
Why are you running that play?
I don't think this is a controversial take, actually. I really don't. He hung in too long, and that play took way too long to develop, way too long in that spot. It's got to be quick. Like, unless you have the athleticism of Kyler to run around for 20 seconds, which Davis Mills does not, and basically nobody has, the ball has to be out quickly in the red zone in that spot. On the third down.
We're going to crap on Nathaniel Hackett for play calling all day long, and then you're like, no, Pep called a good play. Davis just didn't throw the ball right. And when it was a fade to Brandon Cooks in the
Pep Hamilton,
there's a go back and watch the play. It was so poorly designed. There was a bunch of traffic right around there. It's not like it was Cooks all by himself. There's like 2 other wide receivers and their defenders in the area.
I'll go back and watch the play. I'll go back and watch it.
Let's do a little case study here. The play 3 is just a buffet of Hackett stupidity. Can we go through all the dumb stuff that Hackett did today?
Yes.
Because there was a lot. The play clock having to use timeouts. There was the taking the penalty and having to punt. The red zone with Williams. The indecisiveness, even when he made the decision where he went for it on 4th and 2, but he had to kill a timeout there. Is there anything else I'm missing? This guy might be the worst coach that I've seen 2 games in. I don't know how you could be much worse than this guy is.
Yeah, they made a huge mistake with this coach. I agree. It's been preposterously awful.
I just can't imagine why anybody would have wanted this guy to be the leader of an organization when there was a chance they were trading for a star quarterback. Like this guy he didn't call plays in Green Bay. That's LaFleur's job. Like, he's never been the guy. It's totally over.
Comes across as a total dope too. It doesn't seem like he's got some sort of charisma or anything like that. Any sort of it factor.
The Walmart guy should put him on clearance in week 7. And then fire him at the end of the year.
They're killing him in Denver. The 3rd and 16.
I think the philosophy actually was, he was the offensive coordinator of the biggest star quarterback in football.
Of course, you defend him.
Were they thinking that they were going to get Aaron Rodgers? You think maybe they thought this would be a way to get Aaron Rodgers? Because it was before we knew that for sure that Rodgers was going to be there. Was this like some sort of ploy to get Aaron Rodgers to choose Denver or come to Denver? Maybe that's the only way you could explain it.
It was, and then their backup was Russ. Remember, Rodgers went back to Green Bay. Then they immediately made the trade for Russell Wilson. I guess my question on the Hackett thing would be, how would I know that Nathaniel Hackett is so awful?
Talk to him. Talk to him.
That was my question.
Mike,
talk to him.
Mike, Doug Peterson was available, a guy that won a Super Bowl with inferior quarterback play. Doug Peterson was available. And they hired Nathaniel Hackett.
I have no problem with that take. That's very fair.
3rd and 16, fourth quarter, another meltdown by the Texans. Last week it was Tunsil or whoever or Britt, whatever. This week it was 3rd and 16. Don't even know what's going on. And Titus Howard, let's be honest, that could have easily cost you. So for whatever reason in the fourth quarter, maybe it's just like a bad football team thing. This team just finds ways, reasons, times to screw stuff up. Not sure what exactly happened there. I'm sure they'll ask Lovie tomorrow, and he'll say, we're going to look at the tape. The Grenard sack of Russ should have been bigger. However, you had the offsides. Hackett uses his final timeout. And those are really the plays. We don't have to go through anymore.
I have a question about one big play. The Tunsil hold.
Was that necessary? Sometimes you grab them because you're protecting the quarterback. I don't even know that one was necessary.
I need to watch. I need to see that play again, either live or perhaps tomorrow when the end zone footage is up. The replay angle that they showed, it looked like he saved Mills from getting killed with that hold. And then like, okay, I understand why Laramie did that. It feels like that was a play that really torpedoed something that they had going, though. Like Davis Mills scrambling for a big gain, and they would have been, I think, in the red zone at that point. And then they just obviously it ends up in a kick, and that dooms this team. But I need to watch that again. I know folks were killing Laramie for it, and it seemed unnecessary. I just don't know. I'm wondering if maybe it was a sack if he doesn't hold, I guess is one of those things. So I want to put
maybe.
That caveat
and I mean, he was
play.
high-fiving Mills afterwards saying my bad, or almost like it was like intentional, like he knew he did it. So there was that. But before we get back into like the post-game stuff, you know the weirdest thing that happened this weekend with the Texans? You guys want to guess what I'm about to say?
I don't know how to guess this.
Where the hell is that Brit news that Lovie said was coming on Friday when he got so snappy at his Friday press conference and he got mad at Berman and said, yeah, that's what I said. I said that we're going to give you the Brit news. We haven't heard anything lately. What's going on?
I don't care anymore because Scott Questenberry's better. So
yeah, this is I'm not going to make this into like Watergate, but my issue with the Texans sometimes,
thank you, Mike,
is that they have pretended for the last year like Justin Britt is some sort of like good football player. Like he is the equivalent of like high end, like, hey, we added a veteran. We're like the Rams and we got Andrew Whitworth. Like this guy was not good last year. He was not strong last year. He was injury prone last year. He was injured during the whole off season. So why is this somebody that you're paying actual money to who is like being brought back as the selling points? Like he's part of the culture with like Grugier Hill and Kirksey and guys like that. Justin Britt may be a great human being, and I'm sure that it kills him not to be able to be healthy. But like, I just have an issue. I have an issue with the way the organization has handled the Britt part of it. Why they've invested.
And Burkhead, like you literally two of your like BOB type tough, smart, dependable guys barely did anything today, and you were better off for it. Like that's a bad look. Like the Burkhead thing's annoying. Like your backup running back should warrant one carry. If he doesn't, then that's crazy. It's either an extreme overreaction or it's a problem at running back. Like that, you got to figure something out. Because are we going to get to a situation where Dameon Pierce is going to have to carry the ball 25 times a game? I mean, that's not healthy. That's not something that Dameon Pierce needs to do. You got to figure that out. But the Justin Britt thing, like my question is this: like they made the decision with Rex Burkhead. They said, okay, for whatever reason, if you want to look at it positively, you can say, all right, well, they at least did the right thing, and Rex Burkhead was not carrying the ball, and it was Dameon Pierce. Didn't carry the ball one time. If Justin Britt hadn't, whatever he had to deal with, and I wish him the best. I hope he's dealing with his personal stuff. If he had never had to do that, was he going to start today? Like, was he going to be on the football field today playing football for the Texans?
Yep.
Really?
Yeah, he was.
Why?
I think it's a great question.
Why? I don't have the answer to that question. That's a question you'll have to ask Pep Hamilton, George Warhop, and Lovie Smith.
This is literally like what Melt said, and I quoted it because I think it's funny, and I heard Lombardi say it. I've just never quoted it. But like when Michael Lombardi said when he was GM that there were times where he was like, okay, for whatever reason, the coaches want to play this guy. I'm a couple of injuries away from having a pretty good football team or a better football team is how he put it. The Justin Britt thing was a prime example. Like they're not like the greatest show on turf, and this offense still leaves a lot to be desired. But I mean, if you, I don't disagree with you guys, but the fact that Justin Britt, had this not happened, was going to be on the field today, and we saw how much better they were without him, that's troubling. That's very troubling.
His cap number is $3.64 million, which, to be fair, like, if you're signing any NFL veteran, you typically can't get him for like, $700,000 or whatever the minimum is. You got to pay him some like actual, like,
who the hell was paying Justin Britt that?
Well, that's the thing.
I'm not trying to make this a Justin Britt thing. My point is they were better without him. And did his decision make that possible? That's the
thing. Like they re-signed Justin Britt this past March, 2 years, and the value, I think, was $9 million. And the question is, what did they see last season between his play on the field and the condition of his body that made them feel like, hey, we should invest this money into Justin Britt? Whereas they do a similar thing with Kamu Grugier-Hill, and I understand it because while he's not going to be a long-term guy, he seems like a good culture guy. He's on the field all the time. He has 1 million tackles. I get that. He's relatively productive. The Britt thing has it's never made sense. Like, why are they trying to make Justin Britt happen?
Well, they don't have to worry about it anymore because he's going to retire.
He's gone. So there we
go. Scott Questenberry is the starting center, and he played better than Britt today.
I think that's right. Real quick. So I'm going back, not to derail us. I'm looking at
derail it, Mike. Derail it.
So I've looked at this play, and I've looked at it from like the broadcast angle a couple of times. So I'm fine with Cody having an issue with the design of the play. It's one of these plays where they're trying to get, I think, Nico Collins on a rub to basically free up Cooks in the corner of the end zone. But the ball has to be put on a line. It's got to get there quicker. And because there actually were only 2 receivers in the area, but the way that Mills threw the football, it made it impossible to complete that play on the 3rd and goal. This is early in the 3rd quarter, and it was tied 6.
They should have just ran the same play they ran on 2nd down.
You can make that argument.
Anything else you guys want to add? I know Reaction Monday is going to be crazy tomorrow. Anything else you guys want to add here? My overall conclusion, if I just had to lay out one sentence, is Denver tried to give you a football game and you didn't take it. That's really the way it is. And Davis Mills, so far, he's been terrible. Like I talked about, the line between the pre-Watson quarterbacks with, Brock Osweiler, Tom Savage, etc. This was Tom Savage like this is Tom Savage. He's in the Tom Savage, Brock Osweiler company 2 weeks into the season. That's where he's at.
He's had the opportunity that he could only have dreamed of when he was a 3rd-round pick. And so far, he is failing that test 2 weeks in.
Stutes?
That is my summary. But he's still got to play the last 15 games because there's no better option.
I mean, you calling him Tom say he's Ivy League Savage at this point.
Wow.
Fake Ivy League Savage because that's Stanford's not actual Ivy League.
It's pretty smart though. Pretty nice school.
He's smart, Tom Savage.
Be sure to like and subscribe. Trying to get this going. We'll do some post. We'll have a lot to say tomorrow at our respected spots. Mike Meltzer will keep people out of jail, whatever he does during the day.
I'll try.
All right, fellas. Appreciate y'all for hopping on.
Thank you, guys.
Have videos throughout college football, Lone Star Top 10, all that stuff coming down as well. That's Cody Stutes, Mike Meltzer. A lot of people coming through. Appreciate all y'all for doing so. We'll get the comments rolling. Be sure to like, subscribe. Texans fall. Texans could easily be 2-0, but bad football team's going to bad football team. And right now, the reality of the situation might not be surprising to a lot of us, but the Texans are a bad football team. Damn shame. Reaction Monday tomorrow. Get started at 6 a.m. on Sports Radio 610, Payne and Pendergast. And then myself, Lopez, we'll take you up to from 10 to 2, and then you'll have Clint Sterner around the show, Hughley. So follow me on Twitter at Landry Locker, Instagram, same thing. Like this video, subscribe. Appreciate all y'all's feedback. Y'all made this even better than it was, and sucks to lose, but I'm going to go watch some Sunday Night Football. Appreciate it.